The rain lashed against the panoramic windows of Jerry Yan's study, a furious, relentless symphony that mirrored the storm building within his soul. Tong Liya stood across from him, her silhouette stark against the flashing lightning, her usual serene composure fractured by the palpable tension between them. Months of unspoken affection, of profound connection forged in the crucible of awakening the opera house, had culminated in this charged, suffocating silence. His heightened senses, a legacy of his empathic lineage, screamed with the truth he desperately suppressed, but his deeply ingrained fears, his echoes of past hurts, held him captive. "Jerry?" Liya began, her voice a soft, melodic current that somehow cut through the roaring rain. "We can't keep doing this. This space between us. It's becoming a chasm." Her empathy, unshielded, reached out to him, a gentle, probing touch that made his internal defenses flare. Jerry recoiled, not physically but spiritually. He felt the immense power of her affection, the boundless love that sought to heal his deepest wounds. But with that love came the agonizing clarity of his past, the shimmering auras of betrayal and abandonment that clung to him like a shroud. He tried to speak, but his voice caught, choked by the profound terror of vulnerability. Then, the first mind-blowing scene erupted, a direct manifestation of his internal struggle. The rain outside, which had been lashing violently, didn't just stop. It physically recoiled from the window nearest him, forming a perfectly still, spherical void of dry, oppressive silence around him, extending outwards for several feet. The droplets, suspended in midair, pulsed with a dull, gray light, reflecting his profound fear of being truly open. The boundary of this silent sphere shimmered with a jagged, discordant energy, a physical barrier erected by his own terror. His echo syndrome amplified this internal torment, making Liya feel his fear as a sharp, cutting wind that whipped around her, even as the rain continued to rage beyond the barrier. I can't," Jerry choked out, his voice raw, trapped within his self-made prison. "I can't. I'm broken." Liya, seeing his agony, felt a pang that tore at her soul. Her boundless empathy, usually a gentle force, surged with a fierce, protective defiance. She saw the barrier, felt the cutting wind of his fear, but she didn't waver. She knew this was not rejection, but a desperate cry from his deepest self. She stepped forward, her hand reaching out, her gaze unwavering. "You are not broken, Jerry," she declared, her voice resonating with an unshakable conviction that vibrated through the very air. "You are simply afraid. But you don't have to be. Not with me." As Liya spoke her words of profound acceptance and love, and her hand touched the shimmering barrier of Jerry's fear, the second mind-blowing scene unfolded. The sphere of silence didn't just shatter. It imploded with a soft, iridescent burst of light and sound, sending the suspended raindrops scattering like diamonds. And then, the rain, instead of continuing its chaotic fall, coalesced. Individual raindrops, touched by Liya's pure empathy, transformed into shimmering, translucent threads of pure, golden light. These threads began to weave themselves around Jerry and Liya, encircling them in a delicate, intricate web of profound affection, reflecting her unwavering love. The golden threads pulsed with a gentle, harmonious hum, banishing the last vestiges of Jerry's fear, enveloping them in an aura of undeniable truth. "I love you, Jerry Yan," Liya whispered, her voice thick with emotion, her hand finding his, intertwining their fingers. "I love all of you, every part." Jerry gasped, his own tears streaming down his face as the golden threads embraced him. The last, stubborn fragments of his fear dissolved, melting into the radiant warmth of her love. He felt a liberation so profound it left him breathless, a lightness he hadn't thought possible. He squeezed her hand, his own heart overflowing. I love you too, Liya," he confessed, the words, once so terrifying, now pure and unburdened. More than anything, the climax of their confession triggered the ultimate, mind-blowing scene, a testament to the boundless power of their intertwined souls. As their words of love mingled and their hands clasped tightly, the golden threads of rain didn't just surround them, they expanded. The entire city, visible through the now clear windows of the study, became a vast, living canvas for their truth. Individual raindrops, momentarily frozen in time across the entire metropolis, each transformed into a tiny, perfect hologram of a shared memory. A stolen glance during an opera rehearsal, a moment of quiet understanding over blueprints, a touch of hands during the gala. These weren't fleeting images. They were vibrant, three-dimensional moments, suspended in time, reflecting the depth of their journey. The sky above them didn't just clear. It split, revealing not just stars, but a cosmic tapestry woven from their intertwined souls, a shimmering, impossible aurora projected across the heavens, visible to billions across the harmonized network. Then, the frozen, memory-filled raindrops began to glow, their iridescent light intensifying, and gently, serenely, they descended. They landed not just on the ground, but on the people below, drifting through open windows and settling on outstretched hands. Each person touched by a glowing drop felt a profound sense of understanding, a deep connection to a universal truth, a subtle expansion of their own empathy. The rain wasn't just rain. It was a blessing, a validation of their love, a silent, powerful message of acceptance for every hidden fear and unspoken affection in the world. The rain stopped, the sky cleared, the celestial aurora, a cosmic echo of their love, pulsed gently in the night sky. Jerry and Liya stood in the profound calm, their secret out, their love declared, their reality forever reshaped. The city, though physically unchanged, now resonated with the lingering, harmonious echo of their truth. A world forever touched by the rainy night confession that had finally brought two souls, and an entire world, into perfect, mind-blowing harmony. The rain had stopped. The cosmos, however, was still dancing to their tune. The celestial tapestry of their intertwined souls, a mind-blowing canvas of pure light and emotion, pulsed gently in the night sky. The city below, soaked and silent, was utterly transformed, its air humming with a profound, peaceful harmony. Jerry Yen and Tong Liya stood in the study, their hands clasped, their secret finally out, their love a force so powerful it had literally reshaped reality. Their confessions had not only declared their love, but had also unlocked a new level of their intertwined abilities. Their old powers, Jerry's echo syndrome and Liya's empathy, had merged into a singular, all-encompassing force. They could now tune the emotional resonance of a place. The opera house, a place they had already awakened, became their first proving ground. When they walked into a rehearsal room thick with the lingering tension of old creative conflicts, the air didn't just clear, it shimmered. A gentle, benevolent light filled the space, and the old discord simply evaporated, replaced by a quiet, focused serenity that inspired a new, collaborative spirit among the performers. This was a subtle yet profound power, a benevolent form of emotional alchemy. Their influence extended beyond singular locations. They discovered they could see a city's collective emotional state as a vibrant, complex tapestry of sound and light. They stood on a skyscraper rooftop, looking out at the sprawling metropolis. To their eyes, the city was not just buildings and cars, but a living, pulsating quilt of emotions. The collective joy of a festival was a beautiful, soaring melody of gold. The quiet despair of a struggling neighborhood was a heavy, discordant drone of inky blue. They could enter this tapestry, a mind-blowing act of cosmic urban planning, and gently, delicately reweave the threads. They would focus on an area of pervasive anxiety and, with a quiet act of will, transform that discordant drone into a quiet, focused determination. This was a large-scale act of healing, a benevolent force that could turn the tide of a city's collective emotional health. The most powerful consequence of their new state was their ability to address individual pain from a distance. They could send a quantum echo of forgiveness. They would perceive a person's hidden regret, a long-ago mistake that had become a silent burden, and, in a mind-blowing cosmic flash, project the feeling of being forgiven for that past hurt, even if it was a moment of weakness or an unacknowledged mistake. This wasn't a memory or a physical manifestation. It was a pure, profound feeling of absolution that allowed people to truly move on, a direct act of divine grace that created an immediate ripple effect of kindness. The rainy night confession, which had started as a simple declaration of love, had become a pivotal moment in human history. They realized their ultimate purpose was not to control the world, but to empower it. Their final public act was a culmination of all their powers. Standing in the opera house, now the epicenter of their benevolent energy, they didn't create a new network. Instead, they projected the knowledge of how to perform a personal emotional reweaving into the minds of every person on the planet. They gave humanity the tools to heal themselves. With this final, mind-blowing act of profound trust, they stepped back from being active guardians to being silent inspirations. They had not just healed the world. They had given it the ability to heal itself. The story ends with Jerry and Liya, now fully integrated with their cosmic power, living a quiet, peaceful life. Their public confession has left an indelible mark on the universe, a love that has healed the world and empowered humanity to heal itself forever. The rain had stopped. The cosmos, however, was still dancing to their tune. The celestial tapestry of their intertwined souls, a mind-blowing canvas of pure light and emotion, pulsed gently in the night sky, a permanent promise that love would always triumph over fear. The world, in the wake of their final gift, was a thriving utopia of emotional clarity. Jerry Yen and Tong Liya, having given humanity the tools to heal itself, were now living a quiet, peaceful life, no longer active guardians, but silent inspirations. But a new, unprecedented challenge began to emerge. It was not a malevolent force, but something born of their own creation. The collective, emotional energy of humanity, now self-healing, was growing exponentially, a wild, untamed river of love and forgiveness. This raw, boundless energy was causing reality to become fluid and unstable. The lines between the real world and their mind-blowing creations were blurring. The first mind-blowing symptom was that the resonant tapestry of cities, once visible only to them, was now becoming visible to everyone. A city's emotional state was no longer just an invisible resonance. It was a living, breathing aurora that people could see and feel. A wave of collective happiness would cause the buildings to shimmer with golden light. A moment of collective sorrow would cause the sky to fill with shimmering, blue-tinged clouds. The very air carried the melody of a city's mood, a communal symphony of emotion that was both beautiful and terrifying in its unpredictability. The instability reached a critical point. The temporal vortex they had contained, the one that rewove the threads of fate, began to unravel. Past, present, and future began to collide in a spectacular quantum-temporal collapse. People began to experience quantum echoes of their ancestors' emotional breakthroughs. A young man, walking through a park, would suddenly see a ghost of his great-grandmother from generations ago, feeling a profound sense of closure over a regret she had carried to her grave, a closure he himself had never known he needed. The unsent letter, a symbol of the collapsing timelines, began to reappear in different places, a shimmering, translucent beacon of the unraveling reality. Jerry and Liya, their quiet peace shattered, knew their final task was not to create or heal, but to anchor. They had to take all the raw, benevolent power of a self-healing humanity and give it a stable, permanent form. They journeyed to the opera house, the first place they had healed, now humming with a wild, untamed, magnificent energy. Standing on the stage, they channeled their combined power, not to create a new spectacle, but to absorb the beautiful, magnificent chaos. With a single, quiet, mind-blowing act of profound self-sacrifice, they absorbed the entire collective consciousness of humanity's love and forgiveness, re-establishing a stable boundary between the real world and the realm of emotion. The world returned to normal, but it was changed forever. The celestial aurora, the resonant tapestry, the glowing garden of light, all of their creations, now faded into the background, becoming subtle, unseen influences. Jerry and Liya were no longer silent inspirations or cosmic guardians. They were just two people, their powers now part of the world's subconscious, the silent, invisible force that keeps it from unraveling. Their greatest act was not to create, but to surrender their power, turning their love into the silent, eternal anchor for all of humanity. The rainy night confession that had started a revolution had come to its final, breathtaking end, leaving behind a world that would forever resonate with the beautiful truth of their sacrifice.